more difficult to work on.
You're joking.
No! And more rare.
The president of the FIA personally reached out to Mat Armstrong. Not a team, not a spokesperson, not a press officer or a communications assistant, or any of the layers of institutional distance that normally separate the head of the world's most powerful automotive governing body from a YouTube content creator in Leicester. Mohammed Ben Sulayem, FIA president, former 14-time Middle East Rally Championship winner, the man who governs Formula One and every other major motorsport series on the planet, personally reached out to Mat Armstrong, and what he said in that contact did not go the way anyone expected. Not a warning, not a cease and desist, not another institutional voice adding to the chorus of manufacturers trying to slow down the most disruptive force in the automotive world. Something else entirely. Something that changes the entire conversation about where Mat Armstrong's story goes next. And when you hear what was said, when the full picture of what this contact represents becomes clear, you'll understand immediately why this is the moment that changes everything. Think about what it means for the FIA president to make personal contact with anyone outside the formal structures of motorsport governance. Mohammed Ben Sulayem is not a man with time to spare. He is the head of an organization that governs Formula One, World Rally Championship, Formula E, World Endurance Championship, and hundreds of other series across the globe. He is a man who was managing the cancellation of 2 Formula One Grands Prix following the outbreak of conflict in the Middle East, while simultaneously announcing plans for AV8 engine revolution targeting 2030. He was re-elected unopposed a second 4-year term in December 2025 in a process now under legal challenge. He has whistleblower complaints, driver punishment controversies, and F1 regulation battles all occupying space on his desk at any given moment. This is not a man who reaches out casually. When Mohammed Ben Sulayem makes personal contact with someone outside his official sphere, it is because that someone has done something significant enough to demand his personal attention. And Mat Armstrong has done exactly that. But to understand why the FIA president's contact lands with the weight it does, you need to understand the specific role the FIA plays in the automotive world, and why that role intersects with Mat Armstrong's story in a way that nobody fully anticipated when this journey began. The FIA is not just a motorsport body. It is the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile, the International Automobile Federation, the governing body not just for racing, but for road car standards, vehicle safety regulations, and the broader framework within which manufacturers operate in the global automotive market. When the FIA takes an interest in the relationship between manufacturers and independent repair, when the FIA president pays personal attention to a situation involving a YouTuber being blocked from fixing cars he legally owns by manufacturers using proprietary software and lock part systems, it is not a casual observation. It is the world's most powerful automotive governing body signaling that the issues Mat Armstrong has been documenting on camera are issues that reach the highest levels of the institutions that shape the rules the automotive industry operates by. And that signal, in the context of everything that has happened between Mat Armstrong and Bugatti and Ferrari and Lamborghini, is the most massive development this story has ever produced. Now let us establish exactly who Mohammed Ben Sulayem is beyond his title, because understanding the man helps understand the contact. Ben Sulayem was born in Dubai in 1961. He competed as a rally driver from the 1980s, winning 14 Middle East Rally Championship titles, and becoming one of the most successful rally drivers the region has ever produced. He understands cars not as a bureaucrat understands them, as a driver understands them, as someone who has sat behind a wheel in competitive conditions and understood at the physical, visceral level what machines are capable of and what it means to push them to their limits. He became FIA president in December 2021, succeeding Jean Todt, immediately overseeing the controversy surrounding the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix finale. He has navigated whistleblower complaints, governance controversies, driver punishment debates, and now the most significant regulation changes in Formula One in decades. He is a man who has operated at the intersection of automotive passion and institutional power for his entire adult life. And when that man pays personal attention to Mat Armstrong, it means something specific. It means Mat Armstrong has crossed a threshold that most content creators never approach. The threshold where what you do stops being entertainment and starts being consequential at the institutional level. But here is what nobody knew about the specific context of the FIA president's contact. Here is the detail that makes the timing of his reach out so extraordinarily significant. The contact happened at a moment when the relationship between the FIA, the automotive manufacturers, and the right to repair movement was already reaching a critical point. The EU right to repair legislation coming into force in July 2026 sits within a broader regulatory framework that the FIA has influence over in ways that the automotive manufacturers are acutely aware of. The FIA's positions on vehicle standards, repair procedures, and the rights of owners and independent operators to access the systems in their vehicles carry institutional weight that no YouTube rebuild series, however compelling, can replicate through content alone. And the FIA president being aware of Mat Armstrong, specifically engaged enough to make personal contact, means that the arguments Mat Armstrong has been making through his builds have reached an audience with the power to embed them in institutional frameworks that outlast any individual video or viral moment. The content creator who started by documenting a Bugatti repair has become a case study that the world's most powerful automotive governing body is paying personal attention to. That is not a small thing. That is a defining moment. Now let's talk about what the contact actually involved. Because the description of it in the video that documented it was precise about something important. The contact did not go as expected. That phrase, did not go as expected, is doing a tremendous amount of work. Because when the FIA president reaches out to a YouTuber known for rebuilding crashed supercars that manufacturers have tried to prevent him from fixing, the expected contact is a warning, a boundary being drawn, an institutional voice reminding an individual that there are limits to what independent operators can do with manufacturer proprietary systems. That is what the automotive community expected. That is what Bugatti's audience had been primed by everything that came before to anticipate. Another powerful institution, another authoritative voice, adding its weight to the side of the argument that says manufacturers have legitimate reasons for controls they impose, and independent rebuilders should respect those controls. That was the expected contact, and it did not happen, because what Ben Sulayem said was not a warning. It was recognition, and recognition from the FIA president is something that changes the entire landscape of the conversation Mat Armstrong has been having with the automotive industry for the past several years. Because here is what recognition from the FIA at presidential level actually means in practical terms. It means the issues Mat Armstrong has been documenting are now part of the institutional conversation, not just the public conversation on YouTube and in automotive media. The institutional conversation, the conversation happening in the meeting rooms and the regulatory working groups and the governance structures where the rules that manufacturers have to follow get made and revised and enforced. The conversation about whether manufacturers' software locks and proprietary part systems and VIN locks and hybrid battery controller modules that only factory tools can address are compatible with the principles of vehicle ownership that automotive governance is supposed to protect. That conversation, which Mat Armstrong effectively started by buying a crashed Bugatti and pointing a camera at everything that happened next, is now happening at the FIA level with presidential awareness. And that is the moment that changes everything. Now let's address the specific automotive context that makes the FIA president's interest in Mat Armstrong's situation so strategically important right now. Because 2026 is not a random year for this contact to happen. It is the year when everything is moving at once. The EU right to repair legislation, the most significant Formula One regulation changes in decades. The FIA president's own announcements about V8 engines and reduced electrification targeting 2030. All of these developments sit within a broader conversation about the relationship between automotive technology and the people who use it, own it, drive it, and want to fix it. And that broader conversation has a specific tension at its center. The tension between the extraordinary capability of modern automotive technology and the extraordinary complexity that capability creates for anyone who wants to interact with it independently. Mat Armstrong's Ferrari 296 GTB, with its hybrid system failure message, is the perfect symbol of that tension. 830 horsepower from a twin-turbo V6 plug-in hybrid system. Genuinely extraordinary engineering. and a 5-word dashboard message that makes it completely undrivable without manufacturer authorization. The capability and the complexity on the same screen at the same time. And the FIA president is now personally aware of the specific human story that symbol is attached to. The connection between Ben Sulayem's background as a rally driver and his interest in Mat Armstrong's situation is worth understanding in detail, because rally driving and independent automotive repairs share something important. They share the culture of making things work in conditions that were not planned for. Rally drivers and their co-drivers operate in environments where improvisation is not a last resort but a core competency, where the car that breaks on a special stage and needs to be fixed with whatever is available in the service park is a normal situation that requires exactly the kind of creative engineering and applied knowledge that Mat Armstrong brings to every build. Ben Sulayem won 14 Middle East Rally Championship titles by understanding cars at the level where you know what they need because you've been inside them under pressure when everything was going wrong. That shared understanding of cars as things that need to work in the real world regardless of whether the manufacturer's ideal conditions are present is the foundation on which genuine respect between these two men can exist. And genuine respect at the level of the FIA presidency has implications that go far beyond any individual build project. But here is what the automotive community's response to the news of the FIA president's contact revealed about how far this story has traveled, because the response was not surprised that the FIA was paying attention. It was relief. The relief of millions of people who had watched Mat Armstrong navigate corporate opposition and legislative conversations and manufacturer gatekeeping and financial risk and public scrutiny for years and have been waiting, without fully articulating the weight, for someone with institutional power to validate what they have been watching, to say officially at the level of the organizations that actually govern these things, that the questions Mat Armstrong has been asking through his builds are legitimate questions that deserve institutional answers. The FIA president's contact was that validation, and the relief in the community response to it was the release of years of accumulated